Listening Fanfiction presents If I Must Starve, Let It Be in Your Arms by Ignium807, based on the book and TV series The Witcher from Netflix. Chapter 1. Jaskier is being watched. He isn't sure why, and he isn't sure by who, but decades spent traveling with Geralt have instilled in him both the ability to tell when someone is watching him and a healthy dose of paranoia. Jaskier has been on the receiving end of some monster's murderous glare too many times to count. He knows how it feels. This, though, feels different. It's less of a murderous glare, and more of a curious eye. He feels it on his back as he struts around town, buying bread with the coin from last night's performance and winking at every fine lady in town, which is to say all of them. Jaskier certainly isn't picky. He thinks the watchful eye might be a fan, or perhaps some woman entranced by his lovely songs. At least, that's what he hopes. Jaskier hasn't been this far into Redania in some time, or ever, really, so there aren't any jilted husbands nearby out for his blood. Besides, he has a good thing going with Geralt. He hasn't cuckolded at any husbands for a few years now. The thing is, he doesn't mind the staring. It's just that Geralt isn't with him at the moment. Jaskier's Witcher is off in Cadwin somewhere, knocking together monster skulls and sulking in corners, no doubt, and he isn't due to meet up with Jaskier for another 2 weeks. Jaskier isn't a coward, thank you very much. No, sir, not him, but, well, having a big, scary Witcher at his back is usually good for warding off things like mysterious stares. The feeling goes away when he's anywhere private or when he's performing for the good people of the local inn. Anywhere he might have a decent shot at actually catching whoever is drilling holes in the back of Jaskier's skull, the staring stops. It's been a week now, and Jaskier is starting to feel well and truly put out about the whole thing. He wears out his welcome at the inn eventually. The coins run dry, and the innkeeper throws him out with little ceremony, so Jaskier slings his loot around his back and sets off for the next town, expecting his little admirer to disappear as soon as he leaps. He waits for the prickly feeling on the back of his neck to fade away. It doesn't. Muscle memory keeps his fingers strumming at his lute as he walks, but Jaskier's mind is focused on the weight of watchful eyes that hangs so heavy on his shoulders. He lets it stay there for as long as he can stand, which isn't all that long. A quick glance behind him shows no one, and the road ahead of him is similarly empty. That leaves only the woods to either side of him. He thinks very briefly of wandering into the woods to look for whatever it is that's following him, but a memory from a week ago stops him short. He and Geralt spent the past winter in Cadwin, Geralt in Kaer Morhen with the other Witchers, and Jaskier in various towns at the foot of the mountains. When the thaw came, the two of them spent all Jaskier's hard-earned coin on a room at an inn with large beds, and made love as much and in as many positions as either man could stand, and Jaskier can stand a lot. They parted ways with soft words and promises to see each other soon before Geralt, in his typical gruff fashion, said,
"Stay away from monsters, Jaskier. I don't care how good the story is. I'll be fucking angry if you die."
A romantic for the ages, that one. Jaskier, for his part, did not think that the thing watching him so closely would kill him, but Geralt would probably not count wandering into a dark forest alone as staying away from monsters, and will likely get angry about it when Jaskier tells him, even if Jaskier doesn't die, so chasing the thing is a no-go. Instead, Jaskier simply stops walking. He plucks out a cheery little tune on his lute, stocks still in the middle of the road, and whips up a brilliant smile.
"You can come out now, oh mysterious watcher," he calls to the forest around him. "I don't bite, you know, unless you are a beautiful maiden, and even then I only bite if you ask nicely."
Jaskier winks towards the trees and wonders idly what big disapproving sound Geralt would make at him in that moment for acting like such a fool. The forest does not answer him.
"Oh, come on, please. I'm absolutely up to my ears in curiosity now. You simply must come out and say hello so I can stop wondering so much. Don't be ashamed about me figuring you out. I'm flattered, really. It's not every day a bard picks up his own secret admirer, even if you have a rather odd way of showing it."
Finally, a low chuckle comes from Jaskier's left. He whips his head around to stare at the man who steps from behind the trees. His steps are silent, even on the ground that's covered in a thin spring frost, with shoulders and biceps to rival Geralt's, though not better than Geralt's, because nobody is that gorgeous. The man looks dangerous. When Jaskier's eye catches on the silver wolf pendant around his neck, he lets out a suitably dramatic gasp and presses one hand to his chest. "A witcher? My, I am lucky!" The man laughs again, louder now, and says, "You are just as Geralt describes you." Jaskier shoots him a blinding grin. "Of course, dear witcher. My Geralt is a man of few words. He rarely wastes them on falsehoods, although I would love to hear what he's been saying about me. Did he tell you how I sing like an angel? That I'm as beautiful as an incubus? His trusty, humble bard that he could never live without?" "You said you talk a lot." Jaskier can practically see Geralt saying it, his smile hidden by a mug of ale while he pats Jaskier with little insults that he doesn't fully mean. The idea of him doing the same with other witches around sets Jaskier's head spinning with satisfaction. "Well," he says, collecting himself, "I suppose there's no accounting for taste. Tell me, when did you last see this oh-so-complimentary partner of mine?" The witcher steps out onto the road to stand next to Jaskier. Daggers glint on his belt, bright and diddly in the morning sun, but Jaskier is long past fearing witchers and their weapons. They may not all be as lovely as his white wolf, but they only kill humans who really, really deserve it. The worst thing Jaskier has ever done is wish death upon Valdo Marks that one time, and that didn't even work. "I spent this past winter with him at Kaer Morhen." "Ah, you're not Vesemir, I assume. Geralt told me he stays at the castle. You must be Lambert, then? Or Eskel?" "Lambert," the man says, and Jaskier reaches out to shake his hand. Lambert takes it, slow and cautious. It reminds Jaskier a little unpleasantly of the first few years he traveled with Geralt when every minor touch or point of contact was an uncertainty. He's taught his witcher much since then, but washing away decades of touch-starvation, loneliness, and mistrust is something they are still working on in the relationship. "Lovely to meet you, Lambert. Really, quite a pleasure. What brings you to my neck of the woods this morning, my friend, other than my singing, which, in case Geralt didn't tell you, is fantastic?" Lambert tilts his head and stares into Jaskier's eyes for a long time. If it is meant to intimidate the bard, it doesn't work. Jaskier meets the witcher's look calmly, the smile still tugging at his lips. After a minute, Lambert looks away with a grunt, satisfied with what he found in Jaskier's gaze. "Curiosity," he answers. "I heard a lot about you this winter, so when I finished up a job nearby and learned you were here, I decided to come meet you." Jaskier crushes down his sudden need to know what exactly Lambert heard a lot about from Geralt, and goes for levity instead. "That was quite verbose for a witcher," he jokes. Something warm and happy settles in his gut when Lambert laughs. "We aren't all like Geralt." "No," Jaskier agrees. "I don't think there is anyone on the continent quite like Geralt." Lambert eyes him strangely after he says that. Jaskier can't place the emotion there. Confusion? Constipation? He can read Geralt quite well after so many years, but Lambert is a whole new level of inscrutable. The witcher clears his throat. "Where are you going now?" "The next town over. I've heard one of the village elders is a master musician, so I'm off to see how well he measures up against Julian Alfred Pancras, Viscount of Littenhove, and Bard Extraordinaire." Jaskier plays a loud chord to emphasize his seriousness and turns down the road, tilting his body to encourage Lambert to follow him. "Are you heading that way as well?" "I am. I hear they have a drowner problem, and the nearby lord has full coffers." Jaskier grins. "Fantastic. We can head there together." He leans over to add a dramatic wink. "I have been told that I am an excellent traveling companion." Lambert falls into step with him, and Jaskier fights the urge to start firing questions at him. He loves Geralt, really, he does, but he is dying to learn more about the new witcher who was so easily stepped into his life. Geralt had described Lambert as a brother more than once. As far as Jaskier knows, Lambert, Eskel, and Vesemir are the closest thing Geralt has to a family. Jaskier had wanted to meet them all for years, and now destiny has thrown an opportunity right at his feet. There are so many things he wants to know, so much he wants to ask about. But deeply personal questions would take time and maybe a few mugs of ale to start asking.
Jaskier holds his tongue on that for now and lets other questions bubble out of him. He is still a bard after all, and Lambert's stories of monsters and maidens would make ballads as fine as Geralt's. Maybe this switcher won't be as stingy with the details. So Jaskier leans in close and asks, "Have you ever seen a chimera?" It's winter in Kaer Morhen, and Lambert is the last to arrive. His brothers welcome him to the ancient halls with open arms and the smiles of people who have not seen each other in far too long. "Took you long enough," Eskel teases him. "We nearly drank all the ale without you." Lambert laughs and aims a punch to his brother's shoulder that ends in a brief dirty wrestling match on the floor. He lands a blow on Eskel's sternum and gets a knee in the gut for his troubles, yet when it ends they're both grinning like little boys again. Geralt watches from the sidelines. The lines of his body are still hard and tough, but there is a soft smile pulling at the edge of his mouth that wasn't there a few winters ago. Lambert decides to ask about it later. Until then, he lets his mind ease into the simple pleasures of good food, good ale, and the comfort of company that does not fear him for what he is. It is several weeks before Lambert finds a time to talk to the two of them. To really talk, not just joke and posture like they always do. He's been paying attention, see, and something about Geralt is different, softer. He still wields a sword like every monster's worst nightmare, but the edges of him aren't as rough anymore, and Lambert has been cataloging the differences. Geralt smiles more than before. His hair is pulled into the same half-up, half-down style that he has preferred for years, but it doesn't look as coarse or weather-beaten as usual. It looks light and well taken care of. His armor, too, is the kind of clean that witchers never bothered to make things. Why spend all night cleaning something that's just going to get doused in blood again the next day? Lambert can't make sense of the changes in Geralt. All he knows is that sometimes, when he's weak, he looks at his brother's well-kept hair and wishes he had someone to do that for him. He wishes and longs and aches for gentle fingers on his skin without the smell of fear in his nose. He makes sure Geralt and Eskel are both at least 2 mugs of ale into the night before bringing up anything personal. There's a pint warming Lambert's belly as well, making him just brave enough to let the questions of his mind spill past his lips. "When did you turn into such a neat freak, Geralt?" Geralt, ever the stoic type, just shoots Lambert a questioning glare over the rim of his cup. "The armor?" he presses. "The hair? Gods above, Geralt, you look almost dainty. When did that become important to you?" A grunt, and then, "It's not." Eskel cuts in. "Then why all the..." He trails off, gesturing at how relaxed Geralt looks. It's a mocking, taunting contrast to the tension that runs under Lambert's skin every day. "Jaskier," Geralt says. "Jaskier," Lambert echoes. "That bard you travel with. What does he have to do with this?" He's pushing. He knows he's pushing, but the ache in Lambert's body won't allow him to let it go. Geralt just growls in response. "Fuck off, Lambert." It's the wrong thing to say. Any suspicions Lambert had might have been brushed away with a little explanation, but Geralt is digging in his heels. Do keep playing that game. "I mean it. You're different, Geralt." Lambert is sure that the longing, the jealousy in his voice must be showing through, but he keeps going anyway. "You're more relaxed than I've ever seen you. You're actually smiling instead of just glaring at everyone. You're walking the path with it even, for fuck's sake, what changed?" Geralt slams down his mug and levels a stare at Lambert that could make a feral shriek a beg for mercy. "I got tired of the pain," he says and walks away. Wrenching his mind out of the past, Lambert focuses on the bard walking beside him. He's chattering away about some lady or another in a town to the south of them, but Lambert is hardly listening. His attention is held by Jaskier's smell. It's happiness, contentment, and relaxation all swept up into one. So different from the human sense Lambert is used to. Never before has he walked beside someone other than another witcher without the acrid burn of fear in his nose. Lambert lets the smell wrap around him as he listens to the gentle lilt of Jaskier's voice. The bard touches his shoulder in excitement once or twice, and it's all Lambert can do not to lean into the touch and shut his eyes. The plan he came up with during those long winter nights in Kaer Morhen is silly, he knows. It's silly and pathetic and desperate, but here, slowly letting himself relax with this gentle, fearless bard at his side, Lambert begins to think it just might work.